So it's an interesting camera angle. You're really far away. I don't know if you can even hear me. One of my first videos to ever do well, which got over 1,000 views, was my I was driving around. I was talking about the Flux score, so the Adrian Flux Blackbox, and I got so many comments on that saying do you recommend it, and it's been maybe 2 years now. No, it has been 2 years this month. So obviously I'm not with them anymore. I actually wasn't with them for that long. I came away from them after 6 months. So I'm just gonna be talking about the positives, the negatives of my personal experience. I'm not saying this is a representation of the Adrian Flux brand as a whole, because I am told they are very good, especially when it comes to modified cars. I was a first time driver. It was my first car, so they might be more strict, but as I said, I'm talking about my personal experience. So the biggest positive for me with their specific black box was it didn't track your cornering, your braking, the times you were out, which is a massive thing. I think there's some people whose black box you can't drive at specific times. All this black box did was monitor your speed. That is it. So we'll get on to how accurate it was, but yeah, all it did was your speed. So you could get to the speed limit incredibly fast as you can in a 1.2. As long as you don't speed, you get a good point. Now, from what I can remember, that is basically the only positive. So let's actually talk about speed. There were many times I was driving with my friends. We were doing the speed limit on a dual carriageway, so 70. And then they would overtake me, so obviously they're speeding. And it's gonna sound like I'm making it up or I'm exaggerating, this is true. We then got to where we were going for food. They brought up their app to see how they've done. And they got positive marks, they got miles added on or something as a reward. And I can't check the Flux score until the next day. And I stuck to the speed limit and I still got a bad mark on it, which increases your premium for the next year. So essentially, if that doesn't make sense, they were getting praise for speeding and I was getting essentially told off for doing the speed limit. Now, there were other times when it was a natural speed limit road and the app didn't know that. So I did the natural speed limit, got home the next day to see I was speeding across that entire road, because obviously it thinks it's a 30. Which leads me on to my next point, customer service. I got in contact with them. I even sent them photos of the speed limit sign and the road, and I never heard from them again. So they were quick enough to put my premium up. When it come to me trying to help myself and help anyone else in the future who might run into the same problem, I didn't hear from them. Again, I can't stress enough, this is my experience. I don't actually know anyone else who's had the Adrian Flux score. Adrian Flux are known for being quite good with modified cars. You see a lot of adverts of them and stuff. And maybe this is because I was a first time driver, but they hated my modifications. I couldn't lower my car. I could do the exhaust, but they charged a massive amount. So again, from my personal experience, they're not as good with modified cars as I first thought, but I was a first time driver, so you have to look at the pros and cons. So I don't really count that as a negative, but it is something to think about. And to be completely honest with you, when I went to my next insurance with no black box and all mods declared and more than Adrian Flux would let me, the price difference, obviously it was more without a black box, but the difference, it was 500 quid. And that meant I didn't have a black box. It doesn't mean that I'm speeding everywhere, but it means you're not constantly driving looking at the speed all the time. So again, I can't stress this enough. I think I've said it. It's my experience. I don't think it was worth it. I'm not saying this about every black box company. I might even be wrong about the Adrian Flux black box. But yeah, my personal experience wasn't the best. But no, hopefully you've enjoyed. It's been a little insight, because as I said, the first video did really well and it got a lot of interest from first time drivers. So I'm just here 2 years later, probably a bit late, but just letting you know my personal thoughts. Leave a like and subscribe, comment any suggestions or improvements. There is some news happening with the car that's sat in front of me and the car I'm in now, which you wouldn't be planning on hearing. Anyway, that's another one. Cheers.